Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something maybe a bit hidden, but super important for homeowners, sump pump services.
That's right. And our source material today is from Pacific Blue Mechanical, and it really zooms in on a specific area.
Yeah, the Fraser Valley, especially Mission, BC, keeps popping up.
And that focus is interesting. Our goal here is just to quickly get a handle on why these pumps are so vital. Think of it as the little machine that stops your basement from turning into a swimming pool.
Especially in places like Mission or Vancouver, Surrey, Abbotsford, areas that get a lot of rain, and then that spring snowmelt,
Exactly. We're talking about the gadget that fights back against all that water pressure trying to get into your foundation.
Right, that hydrostatic pressure you mentioned before we started. Okay, so we get the basic idea of a pump, but how does it actually work when dealing with, Mission's weather?
Well, it's pretty straightforward but clever. You've got this basin or pit, usually in the lowest part of your basement or crawl space. Water naturally collects there. And inside, there's this thing called a float switch. It's simple, really. When the water level rises, it lifts the float.
Like the back of a toilet tank.
Sort of, yeah. And when that float hits a certain point, boom, it switches the pump on. The pump then pushes the water out, away from your house before it becomes a problem.
And the sources, they mention different kinds, right? Because the local needs are specific.
Correct. There's the submersible type, which actually sits down in the water in the pit. It's quieter, which is nice if your basement is finished living space.
Quieter is good. What else?
Then there's the Pedestal pump. That one has the motor up on a stalk, out of the water. Easier to get to for checks, maybe a bit noisier.
Okay, submersible, pedestal. But the sources seemed really strong on one particular thing for Mission.
Yes. The battery backup system. This is absolutely critical, they stress, especially with the kind of storms and potential power outages you can get in the Fraser Valley.
Right, because if the power goes out during a huge rainstorm,
your main pump is useless. That backup pump runs on a battery. It kicks in automatically if the power fails, keeping that water moving out. It's like insurance against a potentially massive repair bill.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So we know what it is, how it works. Let's talk payoffs. Why should someone invest in a good system? Yeah. Especially thinking about the local risks, like you said, the thaws, the high water table.
Well, the number one benefit, the big one, is preventing basement flooding. Plain and simple. The sources talk about avoiding costly repairs.
And costly can mean really costly, right? Like foundation damage.
Exactly. Water pushing against your foundation constantly can cause serious structural issues over time. So benefit one is protecting the actual bones of your house and all your belongings stored down there.
Okay, big benefit. What's next?
Benefit two is health related. By keeping that basement or crawl space dry, you stop mold and mildew from growing.
Ugh, yeah. That stuff loves damp, dark places.
It does. And it's not just ugly, it can cause real health risks, respiratory problems, allergies. A dry basement means healthier air in your whole house.
Good point. Structural protection, health protection. What else?
Benefit three is about your home's value. A reliable sump pump system, especially one with a backup, gives buyers peace of mind.
I can see that. Knowing the basement isn't a flood risk.
Right. It makes the basement potentially usable living space, not just a damp storage area. It definitely adds to the home's appeal and likely its resale value.
Makes sense. So protect the structure, protect your health, improve the value. But you mentioned earlier, this relies on the pump working. What about maintenance, especially with Mission's climate? Leaves, debris, all that runoff.
Yeah, maintenance is key. You can't just set it and forget it, especially there. The sources emphasize checking the pit regularly. Clean out any dirt, gravel, or debris that could clog the pump or jam that float switch.
So the switch doesn't get stuck either on or off.
Exactly. And check the discharge pipe, the pipe that carries the water outside. Make sure it's clear, not blocked by leaves, ice in the winter, or sediment. If the water can't get out, the pump running doesn't help much.
Good practical tips. Okay, let's sort of wrap this up. What are the main things you, our listeners, should take away from this?
I think the big takeaway is that some pumps aren't just optional gadgets. In climates like Canada's, especially in places like Mission with heavy rain and snowmelt, they're necessary protection.
Right. Tailored protection providing real benefits, keeping things dry, keeping you healthy, and protecting your investment. And the sources, like Pacific Blue Mechanical, they really highlight using local experts.
Yeah, because they understand the local soil conditions and water table levels, which does make a difference.
Definitely.
And that leads to a final thought for you listening. Considering how often heavy rains or rapid thaws happen where you live, How prepared are you for a power outage during one of those events? The emphasis in our sources today on battery backups? Well, it really suggests that just relying on the main power grid might not be enough when water's involved. You always need a plan B.